It was like, go blow the dust on your place. Go blow the dust on your place. What was the year that they say it slaps? Cause I don't remember it going like that. Yeah.
All right. What's everybody saying? Hope everybody's all good. So currently we are 5 days out from MKCoaching Naturals at Two Bros this weekend. Obviously, last time we talked on here and last time you see me on here was the DFBA Global Cup, which went very, very well, as you've seen. And yeah, the bar is now raised, and heading into this show, the expectations are big. Let's get into my peak week protocols. Also, just another disclaimer for you lot out there. Peak week is not a magic week where anything special should happen. You should already be in the shape and the conditioning that you want to be in. It's not for losing fat or gaining any muscle. It's simply about coming in as best as possible with the physique that you already have, and to be able to showcase that as well as possible with the things you can manipulate. So what I'm doing personally, I was heading into peak week at a depletion phase. My last day of depletion, I raised my carbs up slightly, just so it's not too big of a jump for my body, going straight from a very low carb phase into a moderately high carb phase. And I didn't want to hold too much water at the start too early due to the heavy carb spikes. I had one day before my peak week where I raised carbs up, not too much at all. I was still well and truly in a depletion diet, but I raised them up slightly just so I can get a little warm up ahead of the week. First phase was a moderately high carb strategy that we used, and needless to say, this is not with any new carb sources. It's with sources of all the macros that we have been eating throughout our prep every single day. So the likes of my oats, cream of rice, honey, basmati rice. Peak week, you should not be adding anything foreign into your diet that you have not already experimented with, or you know how your body is going to react to it, or stuff that you just have not put into your plans at all beforehand. My first 2 days, I raised my carbs up to 450 grams per day. And that's simply to begin the refilling of the muscle glycogen stores in my body. I also raised my water intake slightly to 5 liters per day. And this is all just beginning the process of filling back up the muscle as we head into more and more carbs and more intake later on in the week, like we are doing right now. In the next 2 days after this, we then raise our carbs from 450 grams of carbs per day to 600 grams per day. And we also raise water by 1 liter, so slightly higher due to obviously more carbs. That just means we go from 5 liters to 6 liters as our carbs increase gradually as well. By now, our glycogen loading and muscle restoration is in full flow, and we're getting more and more of a 3D look as this diet progresses. My muscles become drier, fuller, and more vascular, which is obviously what you want come stage time. I then decrease slightly, so just slightly taper off my diet from 600 grams of carbs to 500 grams of carbs. Now, the idea here is refinement, because we've already filled up our muscles and I know how my body reacts personally. So I have it written here that I'm going to taper off slightly and just hold what I already have. So by now, the job should be kind of done, and it's just about a maintenance period from now until stage time, as we're in a spot that we want to be in prior. And as you may have guessed, as we're reducing our carbs, we're also reducing our water intake with this. Simple. Now, for me personally, this helps to sort of stabilize my look and just to make sure that I come in how I want to come in on stage. Now, massive disclaimer. I have all of this planned out, but throughout this whole duration, we are always looking at visual feedback and basing our next actions off the feedback that we're getting. So we're always collecting data throughout our peak week and making slight little tweaks as it goes on. But what I'm heading through right now is a generalized plan that I know works for me personally, and obviously as I'm looking at feedback, I'm making little tweaks. The closer we are to stage, the more often we're gathering data, making these little small decisions, all of that. But the general main consensus for me stays the same, as I know this is what I'm going to be following. If nothing goes extremely wrong, then the end, even with the slight little tweaks that we're making, is going to stay close to this plan, if that makes sense. And now on to the final day before show day. I reduce my carbs back again and take them down to exactly where we started at the start of our loading phase, which is 450 grams of carbs. And I cut the water intake down all the way to 3 liters for that day. So we're still staying hydrated, but this is just to make sure that I'm not holding any excess water come my time on stage. Throughout all of this peak week, our sodium also stays the same. I know a lot of people out there talk about sodium manipulation and all of that. Sodium plays a huge part in pumps, vascularity, fullness, and a stable water balance, in my opinion. So yeah, I literally never change my sodium intake. Whether it's peak week, the week before that, the week before that, it's constantly staying the same. And again, our body is used to it, and a balanced body brings a good look to stage. Aside from that, obviously throughout our depletion phases, we run Yohimbine, which is a fat burning tool. And throughout our peak week phases, we obviously cut that off beforehand. And as the week begins, and our loading phases begin, we put in peak max into the mix, which I've talked about on here before. That's all we changed from a supplement standpoint. Now, lastly, our show day strategy. That really depends on what time the show is at, what time we know we're stepping on stage at. But as it gets closer and we can gauge the timings, we obviously prepare our meals in advance for that. But in general, show day nutrition is very simple and should be very simple for everybody. Very low fat, very low fiber, something easily digestible, fast glycogen availability, so something that can get into your muscles quickly, and also something with fast gastric emptying. Basically, the objective on show day is immediate or as quick as possible fullness without bloating. And for me personally, I prefer cream or rice meals on show day if I am having a proper full meal, and apart from that, just rice cakes, honey, and a sprinkle of salt if needed, with our pump powder as well, just before we step on stage, obviously before the pump up. By now, you know that we always make sure that we're getting visual feedback, collecting data, and especially on show day, it's the most frequent it's ever going to be throughout your whole prep and you being on stage. And you make decisions based off that and manipulate your intakes with everything as the day progresses and you're closer to that stage time. And to end us off, here is 3 peak week mistakes that I see way too many people out there making. Number 1 is cutting your water too hard. A lot of people assume that looking dry on stage means looking dehydrated, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Keep water adequate to yourself and make sure that you look full on stage, please. Mistake number 2 is something we've already touched on, and that is manipulating your sodium intakes. And yeah, I just believe you should keep your sodium intake consistent and consistently tracked throughout your prep, and make sure that it doesn't change so that your body can stay balanced. And number 3 is competitors panicking backstage that they don't look full enough, and they try to speed up the process and eat too much food before they step on. Now, obviously, as you can already tell, and you're probably able to guess, this causes a spillage by the time the competitor actually gets on stage. And of course, that's the last thing we need. But yeah, I hope that you're enjoying the content. Come back heavy necked from two bros. You're going to see a show day vlog, obviously, and everything is going to be documented. Can't wait to step on stage in 5 days time.